Hey guys, recently I've posted about gut health and PCOS, and I had quite a bit of questions about it. And so I just wanted to make its own post about it and the connection between your gut health and PCOS. It's a very common term now, especially with women. And so it gets brought up quite a bit, or gets put on somebody's list often when I have a patient come in. And so I do a lot of gut health. Also do a lot of anti-inflammatory type eating when it comes to PCOS. And so I just wanted to explain that. So our gut health is crucial to our overall health, like just in general, but it is actually affects our hormones, and it is very both connected and bilateral, because the PCOS affects your hormones affect your gut health. So together, it's just constantly going back and forth affecting each other. So it can be very beneficial to heal your gut and help PCOS symptoms. So there's 5 different things that I want to go through all 5 of them and exactly how they're connected. So number 1, gut dysbiosis and inflammation. So dysbiosis just means that there's an imbalance. There's an imbalance in your hormones. When you have an imbalance in your hormones, that is what can lead to what, if you've heard the term, leaky gut. So that's all that fancy word dysbiosis means, is that there is an imbalance of the microbiome in your gut. When that happens, toxins can get into your bloodstream, and so we don't want that. When there's inflammation is very common with PCOS. They typically go hand in hand, which is why when I'm working with PCOS, then I just naturally do an anti-inflammatory style of diet. So when there's inflammation happening in the body, that actually makes the PCOS symptoms worse. And then that can also affect insulin resistance, and then affects your hormones. So when that is happening, and that inflammation is happening in your body, if there's any type of inflammation, which is really hard to explain because you can't see it. And I think inflammation is one of the hardest things to explain, because like if you have a wasp sting and it, swells, you can see that inflammation, but you can't necessarily just see inflammation that's happening inside your body. And so that's why that makes it so hard to explain. Oftentimes you can feel it, especially if you're really in tune with your body. So if there's like joint pain or indigestion or heartburn, brain fog is very common, bloat following certain foods. Those are all common kind of inflammation type feelings. Even arthritis, that arthritis type feeling that happens in all of your joints. So that is what I want you to think of when you think of the word inflammation. 2, insulin resistance. That is also a term that has become so much more heard about lately, especially with the rise of diabetes. And so insulin resistance kind of like comes before that. So when your gut microbiome is off, it actually impairs your insulin signaling pathways. So that is what actually leads to insulin resistance. So when those pathways are not just going smoothly, then that insulin resistance itself is actually happening. And then that is what leads to higher blood sugars, which then leads to pre-diabetes and then diabetes. Number 3 is hormone imbalance, which I think is kind of a given one with PCOS. Of course, your hormones are being affected. So your gut microbiome, it actually affects also your sex hormone. So that's very common. So by balancing your microbiome, you're actually regulating your hormone levels. And so that is something, again, that it's just kind of a two-way pathway of, you fix your hormones, you fix PCOS symptoms, you fix PCOS symptoms, you fix your gut, you fix your hormones. Number 4 is weight management and metabolism, another one that goes and affects each other. So the heavier you are, typically the more PCOS symptoms you have, but then on the flip side, it's harder to lose weight when you have PCOS. So those typically go hand in hand as well. So our gut microbiome, biome affects your fat storage. So it can actually affect how your body metabolizes fat and how it lets go of fat. So, but at the same time, again, you really want to be able to manage your weight to manage your PCOS symptoms. Number 5 would be mental health. And so that's a big one as well with all of us. And so with mental health, we have something that's called a gut brain axis. So the gut and the brain are actually connected, and it's called on a gut brain axis. So what is affecting your gut affects your brain. What affects your brain affects your gut. So when your gut microbiome is off balance, that's affecting your brain, the brain fog, depression, our mood, and then vice versa. So PCOS patients already naturally have higher depression, but then at the same time, when your gut is off balance, since that's affecting your hormones, it affects your happy hormones that are in your brain. So those are the 5 things that are really affected with PCOS in your gut. So 4 things I want you to really take away when we're talking about healing your gut. First one, of course, is your diet. My favorite part, right? So that's going to be fiber, your prebiotics, your probiotics, your fruits, your vegetables, whole grain. So when doing this, we do a whole plan of foods that help the gut, help inflammation, and then foods that don't. So putting together a plan of both. Number 2 would be supplements. Across the board, I recommend a probiotic. But then also maybe you need a digestive enzyme. I'd rather you get your fiber from food. Maybe you need an omega-3 supplement. I'd rather you get that from food as well, but that can be common. You might need magnesium. You might need vitamin D. So that can all come from a consult and finding out if you actually need those foods. Number 3 is your lifestyle. So exercise plays a part of it, and it does not have to be extreme exercise. Actually, especially resistance training can really help with inflammation in the body. Does not have to be crazy, heavy, intense weights, just some type of resistance training. But also your sleep and stress management affect your hormones, affect your gut. So don't think about just food and exercise, but stress and sleep affect it quite a bit. The last one would be if you need to take it a step further, and we do have a 6-week gut health protocol. That 6-week protocol includes everything that you would need. So it actually has the food guide, it has a supplement guide. We meet along the whole way, so that way I can give you food ideas, meal ideas, snack ideas, drinks, all of that along the way. It has all the supplements that you would need to get started for the 6 weeks as well. We even do a pre and a post 3D body scan, just so that way we can compare inches, fat loss, everything that happens pre and post of the 6 weeks. So big connection with gut health and PCOS. If you find that you need any more detailed information, I would love to work with you. These are some of my favorite clients, mainly because when they get this healed, especially if they're trying to have a baby, they get to have a baby. So anytime I get that news, I'm always very excited. Reach out to me here at Laser Focus and let me know how I can help with your PCOS and or your gut. Bye, ladies.